Okay. Well, golly, there's not nearly enough to talk about in this race. I'll tell you what. Welcome aboard here to our post-race trivia show slash wrap-up show slash everything else under the sun there. Just coming in after the conclusion of another wild Bristol race, one certainly for the record books there, the late race tangle between Joey Logano and Chase Elliott. And it's a good thing social distancing, I guess, is still being enforced, because otherwise we probably would have seen a lot more going on pit road than we did. But still, a few jabs, a few snarky remarks, and everything, and still an interesting scenario there. Goodness. I think that was definitely something that it definitely brightens the day quite a bit with all the news being what it is the last few days. Certainly, of course, before we get any further here, I want to make sure extend my hopes that you're all safe and everything, that you're all getting through things okay with all the wildness going on here. I guess we'll talk into that a bit there, but I don't want to distract from right off the bat there. Fantastic finish there in Bristol there. A great race there. Unless you're a Chase Elliott fan, you probably don't like that too much, or a Joey Logano fan for that matter. But hey, when you got two guys that are just that hungry and going for it and trying to win, especially with both of them already being winners this year, and just trying to improve their seeding in the championship, you can't really be disappointed with them. Just throwing elbows for the spot there. A lot of comers and goers in the race too. Kurt Busch, as they mentioned in the Fox broadcast, coming back from severe damage earlier in the race, finishing the 7th spot there, getting collected in one of those big pile-ups. Christopher Bell has back-to-back top 10 finishes or close to it. Very good runs for him there. Bubba Wallace, a top 10 at one of his best tracks, a track where he led a number of laps a couple of years ago as a rookie. Good to see him hang on there and him, throwing elbows with everybody else. Austin Dillon, Dillon has really turned up the wick lately these last few rounds. Not just at Charlotte, where he's traditionally done pretty well, but Bristol here getting a good run for the Childress guys in 6th place, and actually this time after Tyler Reddick having a bit of a rough outing there and getting collected. And of course, Jimmy Johnson, got to talk about him. Looked like he was going to be contending for the lead, running 3rd for a lot of the final stage there, finishing in 3rd after everything shook out. Clint Boyer, I believe they said it was his best finish in over a year. The pole sitter back at Fontana, and the person that struggled so much in the eeeh iRacing Pro Invitational Series this spring. Good to see him get a runner-up finish there to Keselowski. Ford's sweeping the top 4 of the starting spots by random draw, and then by random accidents sweeping the top 2 finishing positions between Keselowski and Boyer, of course, pending the results from post-race inspection. Pretty wild situation. Got to give a call to Timmy Hill, as mentioned by a number of people online there. Great 19th place finish for the number 66 team on the lead lap, with apparently some of Ryan Blaney's tires after his incident at the beginning of the race. Great run for him. The unofficial results show him just 4.8 seconds back in the lead, finishing ahead of both Logano and Chase Elliott and Martin Truex, and really everybody else ranked below him there. Great run for him there. So that's definitely a boon to that team. On top of the fact that roofclaim.com has already asserted that they're going to be supporting that team both in the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series a lot more. So it's good to see something pay off there. Even some people that had struggles there. I mean, John Hunter Nemechek and Michael McDowell both kind of stumbled there in the closing laps. They end up finishing 13th and 14th in the final running order. Ryan Preece hit the wall, rammed up the right side of the car pretty good there, and drew a caution. Still finishes in 12th. Kevin Harvick, same thing, tire failure. Had about an 8th place car most of the day, ends up in 11th spot. Matt Kenseth overshot his pit stall at the end, finished in 16th. Just crazy. Just when it seemed like Denny Hamlin had that one pretty well in hand, he gets in a tangle there with BJ McLeod while racing Logano and Chase there for the lead. And Chase kind of slips back there after his incident with Logano. Back and forth. My goodness, this low downforce small spoiler thing. I mean, we saw this at Phoenix before the suspension of the season, and what a great show they put on there. And that didn't have nearly as thrilling a finish as this did. And now we're seeing it at Bristol. And even though the first 100 laps, 100 or 125 laps were relatively calm, really you can't fault the finish there, and a great performance that they put together. So really, really exciting here. Oh, we already have a super chat. Beast of Metal 1989. Oh, okay, well, I'm going to have to censor this a little bit, but it looks like you already did. F. Logano. He's the B offspring of Gronk and Brady. Maybe he can go live with them in the Everglades when Florida man comes for his brain. Well, certainly, what's NASCAR without a little bit of rivalry and a little bit of tension? How about an actual rivalry? They're trying to trump up this whole Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott thing, and even though Kyle was very upfront at Darlington and said that he made a mistake, and that's pretty open and shut, I would say, but old Logano and Chase Elliott with an actual rivalry where people are running into each other and having actual scuffles for the lead, and everybody just being a knockdown drag out thing. Drivers that have very different fan bases, and certainly ones where one's not a fan of the other. That was much more of a rivalry, I think, that maybe we'll see in these next few rounds, especially if we're going to be turning the corner and doing a bit more of these short track races. It's too bad that Atlanta is going to be one of these races that's going to not have fans in the stands, because you can just imagine how much the Chase Elliott fans would be out in force after a race like that in Bristol. But Chase still having a great run. I mean, again, I've mentioned that I'm not a big fan of all the hype and everything behind him, but he's really lived up to it since the season returned here. Obviously, he had a good run at Vegas before the pandemic really struck. But then after it, all these, I mean, like Mike said in the broadcast, he's been a factor in the last 10 laps and pretty much every race that we've had since then. And, it's hard to really do that in any sense. But yeah, I think that, there's certainly feelings that are going to be, that are hurt on both sides. But times like this make me really glad that I don't really have a dog in the fight anymore. If Jerry Nadeau retired and some of the other guys I pulled for in the past. The one advantage to that, of course, is you can kind of sit back and just kind of enjoy this like somebody that's a fan of a football team that never makes the playoffs, which I kind of end up doing that too. So I guess there's that. Let's see. But crazy, crazy deal there with the race there. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know I certainly did, and helped me wake up a lot more because I was feeling pretty tired after work this morning. But fantastic battle there during the race, and something that we'll see how things carry. We still got an Xfinity race coming tomorrow. The weather was a lot better. That played a big factor. It's nice to not have to worry about rain for once. Although Darlington and Charlotte both did tremendous efforts in NASCAR themselves, and the broadcasters, really everybody involved, did so much, moved heaven and earth to make sure those races happened, and really exciting that they did. And now we're getting into May, early June. Hopefully we get some nicer weather that's coming up, and that'll be hopefully something that turns around, and we're going to see some more of that coming up. But fantastic race there. A lot of good storylines to build from. Some unfortunate ones, though, at the same time, certainly on the smaller team side. BJ McLeod ended up getting caught up in the Denny Hamlin incident, had a pretty hard crash there, but looked like he was okay, but unfortunately didn't have a very good run as a result of that. Joey Gase, apparently the report from Start and Park Car on Twitter, big thanks to the mentions and the information you're able to provide on that. Apparently was his Atlanta car that was not set up for Bristol, had to throw it together and get that 51 ready to go. Looked like they were going to be a shoe-in for last place through a lot of that race there, losing laps at the beginning. But again, and I feel a little vindicated in advocating for lap traffic and these small teams for staying out there, because I'll tell you what, that finish wouldn't nearly have been as dramatic without them out there. And, you may not like some of these teams. Some people may not like these teams. You guys are cool about that. You guys follow this stuff all the time, so you know what I'm about on that. But they make it interesting, and it's an equal opportunity hazard. Everybody's got to get through them. And just like the Jesse Iwuji thing in the truck race, 38 people get by and maybe one doesn't, and hey, that's the deal. Those are the breaks. And they could just as easily, you could just easily have a situation that gave Chase Elliott the lead as much as it took him back out of it again, whether it's tire strategy or anything else. It's just a part of the strategy, and it makes things interesting. And at a track like Bristol, where even with the post-2007 reconfiguration, and you have these multiple grooves and PJ1 out there, lap traffic still plays a factor, and that's just the biggest difference on that. So really a really crazy deal with all of that. But yeah, a crazy situation there, and I'm sure the folks at Fox are going to have fun hyping that up through the Xfinity race tomorrow and into what I guess is Atlanta the next round, or is it Homestead? I think this weekend is the one where they do Homestead double headers like for 2 straight days. I think that's the one. I could be wrong about that, but crazy stuff on there. Thanks again for everybody joining in there. We got 20 people in the chat. I hope you all enjoyed the race. Hope you're all being safe and everything going well out there. Certainly again it's been crazy these last few days, and we're all hanging there together. I guess I don't know. I can't think of a good transition to kind of talk about that. I guess we can get into that at some point, but so I just want to make sure I cover everything from the race here first, and because I know that's what everybody's wanting to talk about here. Unfortunate run for Matt DiBenedetto. Ended up having what they said like a control arm or something broke, some kind of suspension issue there on him. Ends up 31st at the end of the day. Corey LaJoie did a great job missing some of those accidents. Ends up 32nd. Ricky Stenhouse had a top 5 run through a lot of that. Ends up getting in that wreck with Jimmy, 34th at the end of the day. Alex Bowman having a great, having bad luck kind of bite him 2 races in a row after leading a lot of laps at Charlotte and falling out of 2nd place there, and then this one. And of course, Ryan Blaney, your last place finisher, a rare last place finish for car number 12. First time the number 12 has finished last in a Cup Series race at Bristol since 1980. Buck Simmons, I believe, is the driver. And what's interesting is the team owner, what was it? I believe the team owner had like the same last name as Harvick's crew chief. So I wasn't sure exactly if there's a relation. I haven't been able to see any connection on that on the racing reference page. Childers, yeah, I think it said Kenny Childers. I'm not sure if it's related to Rodney or anything, but probably wouldn't surprise me in that case. But could also be an extreme coincidence. But an interesting team running from the early 80s. We'll go into that a bit more in the article that I'll post either later tonight or first part of tomorrow before the Busch race or Xfinity race. And that'll be the big feature there. Rough deal for Rick Ware Racing. Bailey Curry in particular had a bit of a controversy of his own. He hit the wall at least once, perhaps twice, because he had one incident right before, like immediately before Ryan Blaney's incident. Looked like it actually went from the radio transmissions. It sounded like Curry's accident was actually bringing out the caution. Then, of course, it was because Blaney spun out off of turn 2, got struck by Ty Dillon, ultimately ending Blaney's strong run here for the 2nd time in 3 years in the spring race. Ends up finishing in the last spot. Curry had crash damage, came down, was coming down pit road. Had a bit battery shutdown or electrical issue there on the restart. He hadn't yet reached minimum speed. And so when the crew pushed him behind the wall for the battery issue, he had not yet cleared the minimum speed requirement on the crash clock. And so that counted as a crash incident, even though the battery was what forced him behind the wall and not the crash that happened before that. But they ended up, while they were working on the car, NASCAR official handed down the message that they were parked, they were done for the day, they had to get clarification, and the 53 still ends up out of the race. Curry seemed really upset. In particular, he seemed a bit embarrassed about how his day went. There's only so much you can do. He just made his first few starts in the Cup Series with Ware last year. And Bristol, as you saw, even for the big name guys, this was not an easy track for anybody to make their way through. So, he can't beat himself up too much there. And Joey Gay, same thing. I mean, clawing his way through there and finishing 33rd before he was finally parked for not maintaining minimum speed. Certainly a better run than, the team probably thought they were going to get. You can have a Bristol race where you don't have a lot of accidents, or you can have one like this where it is a complete garbage fire, and that certainly worked out to their benefit and got the best finish they could under the circumstances ahead of 6 chartered teams. I know, Ware is a charter too, but 6 chartered and sponsored teams behind him, not including the 53 at Prairie. I guess the 53. I don't remember the 53 doesn't have a charter or not. I think the 27 has the other charter because that was the 52. They keep shuffling those numbers around. So let's see. Yeah, JJ Yeley up to 25th, 8 laps down. And yeah, an interesting mix. Whenever you get like a race like this, Daniel Suarez lost 2 laps at the beginning when he had he didn't slot into the back of the field after a penalty to the tail end of the line. He ends up getting both those laps back and finishing in the 18th spot. It's a great run for him. Too many things to talk about here, but that's certainly something to be talking about positively for sure. Let's see. Just checking over some of your guys' comments on here. Thanks to Dan Beast of Metal for doing the moderations thing. I know that there's tensions are a bit high there at the racetrack and all that. You know, I don't mind that too much, but yeah, certainly try to keep it as civil as you can there. I know that we have a rather young fan base on here, so I do appreciate that. You know, great, but yeah, great action there during the race and some pretty crazy stuff. Is Martinsville this Wednesday? I gotta check my. I didn't think that it was. Let me check my calendar again. Hold up. Nice. I might have miswrote that on this. Let's find out. Unless I think Martinsville is next week. Unless I'm wrong on that. Okay, I don't have anything marked in June. Okay. Yeah, Bristol. Okay, it's Atlanta this weekend. Okay, Homestead is next weekend. Okay. See, I'm all backwards. Where's Martinsville? I thought yeah. Is Martinsville this week? I mean, I'll check that. But yeah, I'm sure you guys know it already. Probably already have the page queued up. I'm gonna have to get the clarification on that. Let's get the other tab open. Here we go. Goodness me. I mean, so much to talk about. What does it show the results here? Wow, it actually shows Joey Gase out of the race by 2 slow. That actually uses the same reason out that Tom Hubert had some of his last place runs at Sears Point a few years ago. Fuel pressure listed as the issue for Corey LaJoy. Accidents for everybody else that was retired from the race there, even though 53 should be out by DVP, damaged vehicle policy. But I guess crash damage technically sent him back there. I do think that it was something with Almirola last year that had a similar situation. Okay, yeah. Okay, so Atlanta is the next Cup race this Sunday, the 7th, and then Martinsville is the Wednesday after that on the 10th. That's what I'm seeing here. So I didn't actually write that in there, so let me make sure I get that penciled in. Don't want to miss that one. They're still doing Under the Lights? I would assume they are. Well, I mean, if they're doing middle of the week, they kind of have to. So there we go. All right. So yeah, the Wednesday one in Martinsville, then Homestead, then Talladega, and then that leads us into the Pocono Doubleheader, and that one's apparently going to still be without fans. So, I mean, I'll tell you, I mean, this is an interesting schedule. I think it's almost kind of worked out to kind of feature some of the best venues here, even Homestead to a degree. I think I was really looking forward to seeing Homestead in kind of a different time of the season where it's not kind of freighted down by the championship implications. You can just focus on how great the racing is there. I think it still makes a better championship venue than Phoenix, but you know, still seeing it in June is going to be pretty cool, or actually pretty hot if we're going to talk about South Florida and the summer. But that'll be interesting to see. Let's see. Homestead should be under the lights. I think they were going to, yeah, I think, aren't they doing it during the day? It looks like it's going to be, yeah, 3:30 Eastern, so kind of at the edge of it there, at least for the Cup race. Man, oh man. Okay. But yeah, it's going to be a tough sale for these other races coming up. Yeah, I mean, it's almost a shame. We're seeing some of the best racing here in these last few rounds, and certainly a lot of drama and stuff that's made for great TV. But it'd be so much better to do it in person. Still kind of keeping the schedule open this year as to what races we're going to cover. You know, what was going to be the Sears Point weekends coming up in just a couple weeks, and I guess that one's the Homestead weekend. So you know, that I guess that's something. They're gonna stack that one up pretty good with yeah, trucks and Xfinity on Saturday the 13th, and then a second Xfinity race with the Cup race on Sunday the 14th for Flag Day. I thought Father's Day was that weekend, but Father's Day is the week after. Looks like for Talladega. Man, that's gonna be good. That's a good stretch. I mean, that's seeing some of these tracks like in a different time of the year is gonna feel really weird too. But yeah, welcome aboard everybody on here. Wow, we got 23 people in here already. Fantastic, fantastic. But yeah, goodness, yeah, crazy, crazy situation here. So, yeah, let's see. Let's see, and yeah, so but we haven't hardly talked about Keselowski at all. Again, I tweeted it towards the end of the race. There, it's like he's got kryptonite in that Ford. All of a sudden, here he seems to just be in the right place whenever Chase Elliott struggles. It always seemed like I kind of thought Joe Nemechek back at the time, where he always took over for Jerry Nadeau after he lost a ride, whether it was 25 or the 0-1. It kind of reminds me of something like that. Different circumstances, but at least from personal experience. I'm glad to see Eric Jones get a good finish again. I mean, I think that kid gets too much hate, and he was really good at Bristol last August too, but got taken out in an accident, kind of like he did at Darlington. But it's good to see him bounce back on that. William Byron getting a top 10. You know, he's still rolling strong there. Yeah, no, I think that's pretty jolly well covers it here. So again, we're gonna get the article going here pretty soon. Yeah, that you know, it's been a really crazy stretch right here, and but yeah, wow, they finished it in regulation. I thought for sure they had it a green white checker, but it just had that feel to it. Shows that you can still have a perfectly good race completed in regulation here. Wow, yeah, excellent, excellent. So again, we're gonna get into we'll get into trivia here in just a moment. We'll get the thing up and we'll hop into it. Before I go, again, I don't want to ignore the elephant in the room here. All this again, I want to really emphasize. I hope you all are staying safe out there. I know the news has been more distressing than usual with everything that's going on. Certainly don't approve of what those officers did to that gentleman there, and you know, it's, you know, you can't, it's an awful situation on top of another awful one already, much like the Kyle Larson situation. I think that a big reason that this one in particular is we're seeing so much of it now, and just the scale of it is being that much more. I think that a big reason for that is because, again, we're still in the midst of this pandemic. We're trying, you know, we're all already stressed out and keyed up, and I'm not saying it doesn't have anything to do with, you know, with the very clear racial implications there, but I think that what's making it so much worse is again the situation with the pandemic and everybody being holed up in their houses for months, and this stress building up. I think, quite honestly, if it wasn't about something like this, if it wasn't an incident of police brutality, I think it could have been any other moment would have been the spark that would have set a lot of people off here. And we're dealing with it now. And I do hope that, again, I hope that we all come, much like, again, with the Kyle Larson thing, even though it was a much smaller scale here, I hope that it's something that we come out on the other side of, you know, a lot better, and we pull through it here. You know, there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of suffering going on, a lot of people's businesses and livelihoods that are being irreparably damaged already, and especially people that are, you know, those business owners out there with the you know, the chain of custody and the supply lines being as weakened as they've been. It's extremely damaging and upsetting here, and there's not a lot that I feel, you know, that I can say about it, you know, that's going to help. I'm not going to know what the solution is, but again, I posted this earlier on my Twitter account to kind of bring things full circle. This interview with Anthony Mackie when he was promoting one of his films. This is the actor from the Avengers. He did a film about race relations, and this interview that he gave talking about, you know, racial perceptions and the inability of discussions, of a frank discussion to understand what's going on and what isn't going on, and what people are dealing with, and you know the difference between people being, you know, people being ignorant or trying to understand people a lot more. You know, I think it's I highly recommend checking out the video. It's on my earlier part of the Twitter feed there. I think he gives a very fascinating response to it, and I think it really resounds with this right now. I don't want to ignore you either here, Braden. I thank you so much for the $2 super chat on here. You are awesome. You are awesome. I know I'm reading it off here, but you're awesome too. Thank you so much for your support on here too. But we're gonna yeah. And don't worry, Jared. I don't want to make this. I'm not gonna make this all about that. That's about pretty much all I have to say on that. I just don't want to act like I'm ignoring it, because I know that's. I can't just pretend like it's not going on. So I'm just going to leave it there. I'll leave it there, and we'll move on. But if you have any questions on that, I'd be happy to talk about that too. Let's go into trivia, and we'll talk about the racing and everything today. If you have any other questions in the chat, feel free to go ahead and jump in and tell me anything about that, and we'll go through that too. All righty. So let's go ahead and start off with the different categories here, and we'll do this on here. So the categories here are: first one is NASCAR, second one is pits, third one is teams, fourth one tracks, fifth one drivers, sixth one the wild card. Okay, so again, just like before, we'll check out these are basically Jeopardy headings for our Trivial Pursuit section. Go ahead and jump in on any of these if you like, and we'll see if 15 seconds is going to be the first answer for this one as well. I think it did come up in our Charlotte show, so it probably would be. So again, any category you like, go ahead and mention it in the comments. We'll go ahead and jump into it here, and we'll do that. NASCAR is the first category, pits, the second one, teams, tracks, drivers, and the wild card. I'll leave it open here for anybody that likes to jump in on here, and we'll certainly do that. All right. That's right. Yeah, Sir R, thank you for mentioning Carson Ware making his debut in the Xfinity Series tomorrow. That's really exciting. Goodness me. I mean, it's going to be, there's a good entry list coming up tomorrow. I mean, a lot of good storylines to follow in there. Let's talk about Tommy Joe Martin's trying to bounce back from that unfortunate incident he had at the end of Charlotte. It's going to be, you know, really interesting to see what's going to be happening on there. Goodness, I guess let's see, is Kyle Busch running it? I think he was. Maybe I think no, actually, I think maybe he's not. I got to look up my own entry list storylines and kind of pull that up. Where was that? Okay, no, yeah, he's not running it. Okay, let's see. But that is interesting. Yeah, yeah, I mentioned it in there that he's still had 8 straight races in the top 3 series. Again, I'm not a big fan of that. I don't like that he's running the top 3 divisions altogether. Oh yeah, Kyle and Kurt are gonna be in the booth, right? That's gonna be both of them. Yeah. Okay, right on. Okay, so let's see. We got categories: wild card, pits, drivers, tracks, wild card, drivers. Okay. Just got a couple here. Any other suggestions of which commentary here you want? All right. Okay. So we got 2 for drivers. We got 2 for wild card. Any other votes on here? We'll kind of jump into this. Anything on here? That's dedication. Yeah, that is. Goodness. All righty. Tommy Joe Martin's car being prepared by GMS, so that'd be fantastic. Wow. Well, again, these teams helping each other out. And GMS is no longer the small team that he used to be. That's some really helpful effort there, even though they've scaled back a bit on their Xfinity Series program. I see a few for drivers. We'll start with drivers here, and then we can switch off the category as we go. So we'll jump into drivers and try this. Okay. Here we go. What driver's father was a twin brother who is a famous IndyCar driver? Okay, here we go. What driver's father was a twin brother who is a famous IndyCar driver? Is our first question of the night. What driver's father was a twin brother who is a famous IndyCar driver? What driver's father? Okay, I have to pencil this one out. So okay, so I mean we're talking about NASCAR drivers. So what driver's father was a twin brother who is a famous, it should say twin brother of someone who is a famous IndyCar driver. I guess there's a character limit in this. What driver's father was a twin brother who is a famous IndyCar driver? You guys seem to like you're already on top of it. You're asking about Michael Andretti, Marco Andretti, John Andretti. Did Michael Andretti race in NASCAR? I don't believe so. AJ Foyt. It seems like this is like it would be John Andretti would be the answer because we're talking about the father whose brother was. Let's see. The answer is indeed the late John Andretti on that one. Indeed. There we go. John Andretti, first one. By the way, also an update on the video for we'll keep it on NASCAR, I promise. We're gonna the video on Johnny Benson, Johnny in the fast white car. Plan is to have that video done this Friday and do another YouTube premiere on that. We're gonna get the time worked out. Probably make it about the same as the one we've done the last few weeks. Video is about 90% complete, so I'm trying to get that finished up this week. It should be all set up on that. People in the Patreon, those of you in the Patreon here in the chat, you'll be able to have advance access to it, of course. And there's another video I've got working on already after that. Not ready to make any announcements on that, but that's something I'm going to be working on actually. Yeah, I got kind of a discussion that I'm going to set up on that. I don't believe we set a time for it, but look forward to more content on the channel. We're going to get some more exciting stuff here for you guys, in addition to some more of these trivia nights along the way. So here we go. Let's get the next question here. What driver was the NASCAR Winston Cup champion in 1983? What driver was the NASCAR Winston Cup champion in 1983? All right. What driver was the NASCAR Winston Cup champion in 1983? A little bit of an easier one here. Kind of shake things up a little bit. And we're going to keep things interesting here. All right. No Chase fans here. I'm sure there's some Chase fans here. I mean, I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, I've mourned plenty of losses that I've had of drivers that have lost races. Gosh, I remember 2001 in Atlanta when Nadu ran out of gas the last lap. That pretty much ruined my evening. So I don't blame you guys if you're Chase Elliott fans and you're not happy, man. I've been there. Or if you're Joey Logano fans for that matter. But man, I mean, if you got to lose a race, it's a pretty spectacular way to do it, though. At least it's entertaining. Bobby Allison is indeed the correct answer, of course. Bobby Allison, your 83 champion. Okay. This one here may or may not be an easy question. It's phrased in an interesting way. What driver retired in 1992, then revved up a second career in television? What driver retired in 1992, then revved up a second career in television? All righty. This is the question here. What driver retired in 1992, then revved up a second career in television? Which driver? This is interesting. You think 1992, you think certain things, but when you think television analysts, you also think other things. So it could be anything there. Neil Bonnet, Buddy Baker, Richard Petty. All good guesses here. Any other guesses on that? Yeah, Keselowski needs more of that luck in the playoffs. Robo 895. I agree. Man, Chase Elliott does too. He needs more of that luck of something falling in his lap there. He's had some unfortunate luck lately. The answer is indeed Buddy Baker. Buddy Baker. It sounded like Richard Petty because I know Petty did a few broadcasts, but he's so humble and kind of quiet and kind of mild mannered. There's some broadcasts I think he did for TNN where you barely hear him. I think just because the quality of the broadcast is so low, but he's always, that's one thing everybody loves about the King, of course, is just his humility and how quiet he is. But But Buddy Baker is the answer, and Baker, my goodness, I mean, he was, for those of you who weren't around at the time there, watch some of the old broadcasts he did for TNN or CBS, just really entertaining. You'll hear some of it in the Darrell Waltrip video. He's like one of the first guys like laughing at a lot of the silly things like Darrell Waltrip saying and stuff, and it just added some wonderful color to the broadcasts, and it's unfortunate that we don't have him around anymore on that, but you know, he certainly left an amazing legacy there in the booth for sure. Beast of Metal, I saw your comment there about Slapshoe's video on the liars, thieves, and lawyers. Yeah, he beat me to the punch on that one for sure. When I saw that he was doing a sequel to it, I'd already finished the script, and I think I had just recorded it, but I hadn't put it together yet. And then he mentioned the Lycos thing with Johnny Benson. That's certainly going to be in the video that's coming up this Friday, but I do have kind of a little bit of a different angle on it, though. He did a very good job on that video, by the way. It was really, that's a really interesting series he has, because it's amazing. You can kind of listen to this and you realize like how many incidents you've had with unscrupulous owners or sponsors that have made things fall through. It's an unfortunate aspect of the sport. We've seen some drivers' careers curtailed because of those things. But the focus I have for the Benson thing, that's certainly a part of it, the Lycos deal and Tim Beverly. But obviously, it's going to be more of an expansive view of his entire run during the 2000 season, very similar to the Darrell Waltrip video and the other videos that I've done, kind of focusing on the 2000 season from different angles. We've seen the worst of it, of course, like in 3 Before February. We've seen some struggles that other drivers had, like Darrell Waltrip and his victory tour. But this one is going to be much more of a positive side of it there. Even though there are some ups and downs for sure, and you'll learn about this from Benson's the Benson video. But I think it makes for a very interesting story, and learn some more about it that I'd even forgotten from that year from some of the sources I looked at. But I think it's going to be an interesting video. Video is going to be about an hour in length, so it's going to be a little bit on the longer side. But we'll do a watch party this Friday, and I think you guys will enjoy it. It's going to be interesting, interesting deal there. But that's going to be a different thing there. Massively underrated from TNN's broadcast group, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, for sure. You know, really great broadcast they did. I'm growing up, I don't think I fully appreciated how good their broadcasts were, because I mean Dick Berggren, Dr. Dick Berggren, and Buddy Baker and Eli Gold, it just had such a different feel for versus Bob Jenkins, Ned Jarrett, and Minnie Parsons. To me, the ESPN one was one I always look forward to because they had the largest part of the schedule, and I felt that kind of gave them a bit more polish because they had a bit more practice at it. The TNN one was a bit newer to the group. They started, I think, in '91 for the Cup Series, but they really came into their own, and they had a style all their own. Mike Joy was a big part of getting them off the ground, and then Eli Gold in the later years. I still pronounce Nemechek the way that he does, Eli Gold does, because I'm just so used to that. And Joe Nemechek winning, and not Nemechek, not any other pronunciation, but yeah, like so much great stuff back then. Let's see. Okay, here we go. What driver missed winning the NASCAR Winston Cup in 1995 by a mere 34 points? What driver missed winning the NASCAR Winston Cup in 1995 by a mere 34 points? That is the next question. What driver missed winning the NASCAR Winston Cup in 1995 by a mere 34 points? Any other guesses on that? What driver missed winning the NASCAR Winston Cup in 1995 by a mere 34 points? Okay, Dale Sr. Looks like you guys got it. Of course, Dale Earnhardt is the answer. Alrighty. I know that one's too easy. Let's see. That one's too easy too. Ooh, here we go. Here's a fun one. Here we go. Here's one for you hardcore guys out there. What is Jeff Gordon's middle name? Don't look it up. What is Jeff Gordon's middle name? Just go ahead and guess. Jeff Gordon's middle name. Jeff Gordon's middle name. Go ahead and guess. Michael? Any other guesses? Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon's middle name. Okay, we got Michael. Oh, I guess you guys got it already. Michael, is Michael the answer? And the answer indeed is Michael. See, I was stumped. I just so used just Jeff Gordon. Yeah. Nope, Michael is the correct answer. Okay, it just keeps going one by one through like which driver was champion for the years. We had some votes for wild card. Let me switch it up here. We'll do wild card for a few here. Oscar, yeah. You don't need to delete your comments. Don't worry about that, man. You know, hey, there's nothing wrong with getting the questions wrong. We're all just doing this for fun. All right, here we go. What decade did NASCAR Winston Cup drivers first slip into fire suits? Fire suit. Who wore the fire suit in the family? What decade did NASCAR Winston Cup drivers first slip into fire suits? What decade did NASCAR Winston Cup drivers first slip into fire suits? All right. What is your guess here? What decade did NASCAR Winston Cup drivers specifically first slip into fire suits? We got guesses for the 60s, the 70s, 60s, 70s, 50s. Any other guesses here? The answer is the 60s. Indeed, MLG Pro Swag. You got it there, man. I'm sorry, I haven't said who's had the first vote on a lot of these here. MLG Pro Swag. Oh, you got the Michael one, too. There you go. And the Dale Senior one. I think MLG Pro Swag is a ringer here. But right on. You're rocking and rolling, man. Okay. Here we go. What driver had an impressive 91 top 10 finishes in 188 Winston Cup starts? Growing up, the reference book used to do this. Yeah, that'll do it. What driver had an impressive 91 top 10 finishes in 188 Winston Cup starts? Don't look it up. Just go ahead and just put your guess in. Put the first thing that pops in your mind. What driver had an impressive 91 top 10 finishes in 188 Winston Cup starts? Jeff Gordon, Bobby Isaac, Fred Lorenzen. Okay, good. We got a good distribution here. Mark Martin, Mario Andretti. What driver had an impressive 91 top 10 finishes in 188 Winston Cup starts? What driver had an impressive 91 top 10 finishes in 188 Winston Cup starts? The answer, David Pearson. Okay, the answer coming up. The answer is Davey Allison. Davey Allison. How about that? You know, there's been a lot of metrics about, you know, how good Davey could have been if that helicopter accident hadn't happened in 1993. But yeah, he was. I mean, some compared him to Matt Kenseth of the 1990s. A guy just seemed just crank those runs out, and that's really one measure. 91 top 10s in 188 Cup starts. Very impressive. Almost a 50% success rate there. Might have been the 94 champ. Might have been. 2018 was unbelievably strong that year with Ernie Irvan. And Ernie Irvan was, you know, an even more aggressive driver than Davey Allison was. Perhaps with Davey's more consistent approach versus Ernie's, they probably would have been leading by even more points than Ernie was. But that was just an awful situation, too. Not to make awful situations the theme of this today, but certainly Ernie Irvan, you know, that 94 run there and him really putting Earnhardt to task that season, that was an outstanding start to that year. Was a crazy deal. And yeah, really, Dale Jarrett's ride with Yates. I mean, it's easy to forget Jarrett's ride with Yates wouldn't have happened if not for Irvan getting injured, because they brought a second team in there when Irvan came back, and then just kept that team on there when the Quality Care came on as the sponsor, put Jarrett into that one, brought Ernie back to the 28, and then you had those two cars. And it's amazing how much the 88 team took off from there. Even with the number of driver changes to the 28, where you had Kenny Irwin and Ricky Rudd and so forth. Very different deal there on that. Well, yeah. Well, and Ernie Irvan's, yeah, the accident with Neil Bonnet. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, Irvan's career, and again, I mentioned him during a lot of the discussion about Ricky Stenhouse. You know, Irvan having a big part of his career where he, you know, he had a lot of accidents and got a lot of criticism for it. That was really a big difference. So, you know, that was kind of the big thing. Yeah, the Darlington wreck, Stephen C. had seen the questions on there. The replays don't cover it very well, which is probably for the best because Neil got a really serious injury in that one. But Irvin was trying to get his lap back from Ken Schrader, I believe, and he was racing him side by side off turn 4, and they hooked fenders and just triggered a huge wreck. And of course, you know, Darlington being Darlington, it gives the illusion of being really wide and thinking that you can get around a wreck really easily, but the hole closes up so quickly, and that was the incident certainly with Bonnet when he was driving for the Wood brothers there and had a pretty bad wreck. He was 10 laps down. Oh, it's even worse. I thought he was just 1 lap down, but yeah, 10 down. So crazy deal. And of course, he had the other one. He had a lot of wrecks. He had a wreck at Pocono that took out both the point leaders, both Earnhardt and Rudd in 1991. And then at the July race at Talladega, he did a public apology about, you know, saying that he didn't like that he had lost the respect of a lot of drivers in the field. And then in 1992, he gets another 3-wide battle off the second corner and takes out the top 2 fastest cars in the Daytona 500, which ultimately handed Davey Allison his 500 victory. And that because all the most competitive cars were taken out of the race, except for Morgan Shepherd and Michael Waltrip ultimately. That's an interesting story there too. 92 wasn't Irvin's fault. That's debatable. That's debatable. He was making that move there on the apron, and you know that move wouldn't have been possible if not for a rain delay that forced the race to restart. Because up until then, the Junior Johnson cars were just dominating that race, but he did kind of force them into a situation where they just kind of were all, you know, tangled together, and it was a different deal there. But yeah, well, it's good. It's good that Junior Johnson took blame, you know, accepted Sterling Marlin's to blame there, especially since Marlin just joined the team there. But I think, you know, it's easy to point, you know, it just looked like all 3 of them were going for a spot there, and the hole closed up, and you know, stuff happens there. But again, this is what happens when you have a driver that's involved in a lot of accidents. It's very easy for one to get remembered in a different way from others, and you know, Irvin was always, you know, really aggressive coming up through that, and you know, it's interesting watching that replay though, because he did find himself in that situation, and you know, it just kind of shook that out. But you know, and I'm not saying I dislike Ernie Irvin, but quite the opposite. I mean, heck, I mean, the guy took a picture of my book among other things, and actually that ended up being a big part of that book there, talking about Irvin and a lot of the controversies that he was dealing with at the time. That was a very big storyline in the summer of '91, and people wondering where his place was. You had people like you know, Rusty Wallace just flat out saying that, you know, if you tussle me, I'm going to wreck you. Like, you know, think about having that like now, with everybody keeping an eye on things being what they are. But a heck of a talent, heck of a shoe. I mean, winning those road course races, win the Daytona 500 in '91. You know, there's a wreck that was definitely not his fault. You know, Davey Allison, Earnhardt, and Kyle Petty taking each other out at the end of it. Irvin just had an amazing move to get the lead in the first place, and he just took that win, much like Dale Jarrett did 2 years later. So crazy deal. Always love talking about Ernie Irvin whenever there's a chance for it. Oh, here we go. Here's kind of a dated question. Who was the first NASCAR Winston Cup driver to appear on King of the Hill? There we go. Those of you fans of propane and propane accessories, you probably get that. Was Ernie very popular with fans in California? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Not as popular as Gordon, though. I'll tell you what, whenever Gordon took the lead at Sears Point, I mean, I was just rolling my eyes because he won it so often, he made it look effortless. But Irvin was very popular. Irvin was very popular. First NASCAR Winston Cup driver to appear on King of the Hill. All right, and Dale Earnhardt is indeed the correct answer. Stenhouse never drove equipment the fraction of the quality Irvin got. It's debatable. You know, Morgan McClure's team was just kind of starting to figure itself out at the start of his career. Certainly, Robert Yates was much better equipment than Stenhouse's experience with Roush, Yates, and JTG. But I would argue that Morgan McClure is comparable to where Roush Fenway was, you know, at least at the time when Stenhouse was driving for him. Obviously, Roush had much better years before that, but you know, still, you know, at a time where the team was still kind of an unproven quantity. I mean, Roush from having a peak and then kind of leveling off a bit and then trying to get back into it again after having, some struggles during the Car of Tomorrow years. They were just kind of getting back into it. Whereas Morgan McClure, they were good at the occasional super speedway race, and they had Rick Wilson for a great number of years, but just couldn't quite break their way into victory lane. The more I'm thinking about it, there's a lot more differences there. But I think the level they were at, it was, they were both on the ascendancy of something at the time where Stenhouse was on there. But that's a different one. I haven't listened to the Darrell Waltrip Seaball podcast yet. I got to do that. I got to catch that up. Oh, yeah, Phil Parsons in 1990. Yeah, that didn't last long. About the same as Robbie Gordon getting there in 2001. Different deal on that. But a thing there. But yeah, no, Ernie Irvan was very popular at Sears Point. I don't know if it is comparable to Jeff Gordon. Gordon was definitely the most popular. Stewart had a really good fan base even through his last win, and then from there I kind of think about several drivers that kind of fit the same category, or Rusty Wallace, or Mark Martin, and so forth. Yeah, I mean Ernie Irvan was right up there. Absolutely. What Bama boy toiled as a pipe fitter before he got his NASCAR career in gear? There we go. I got a clever way to phrase this. What Bama boy toiled as a pipe fitter before he got his NASCAR career in gear? What Bama boy toiled as a pipe fitter before he got his NASCAR career in gear? What is the guess on that? Neil Bonnet? Any other guesses here? I'm really far back on the Scene Ball podcast. I think I mentioned that before. I still haven't done the Lake Speed one either, because that one looks really good. I've had some commutes that I've been listening to some other stuff, but I got to catch up on that too. But we'll see. What Bama boy toiled as a pipe fitter before he got his NASCAR career in gear? Any other guesses on that? All right, and MLG Pro Swag, you got it again. The answer is indeed Neil Bonnet. And Bad Booking, you got it too there. But there you go. Neil Bonnet, indeed the correct answer. Okay, now let's see. Here we go. Here's some fun ones. Let's go into the world of NASCAR commercials for this next question. Next question is, what Winston Cup champ made a 1998 ad for ESPN stuck in a car with a New York cabbie? There we go. Hey, you're heading up, Braden. Hey, thanks for stopping by, man. And thanks again for the super chat. Right on, bud. Like I say, you're awesome too. What Winston Cup champ made a 1998 ad for ESPN stuck in a stock car with a New York cabbie? Go ahead and any guesses you want to make on there. What Winston Cup champ made a 1998 ad for ESPN stuck in a car with a New York cabbie? Okay, we got Jeff Gordon, Betty Parsons, Neil Bonnet, Earnhardt, Gordon. Good. Okay, we're all over the place. That's good. We're going to make this interesting. What Winston Cup champ made a 1998 ad for ESPN stuck in a car with a New York cabbie? That is the question. Gordon, DW. These are good guesses. These are good guesses. And the answer is Jeff Gordon, MLG, man. I mean, my goodness, we're going to have to put the put a restrictor plate on you, buddy. Oh, man. Jeff Gordon is indeed the correct answer. I was thinking of those Chevy Monte Carlo ads where they had the Tasmanian Devil driving, and they would have like Earnhardt and Earnhardt Jr. driving. Or then there was the ESPN ones where they had like Bob Jenkins, like Ned Jarrett, and Benny Parsons like stuck in the back seat. I think Rusty was driving that one. Or was it Kyle Petty? Kyle Petty had great ads. See, again, it's so awful what happened with Kyle during the 2000 season with NASCAR itself, because before all of that, like Kyle was like the wild style guy, and he still is to a degree. I mean, it's just that, but I mean, you're just never the same after something going through what he and his wife went through. But back in the day when he had the hair all frizzy and stuff, I can't even think of like a comparison in modern NASCAR to what he would be. I guess like I don't know, like a Clint Boyer, I guess, but even that seems like not fitting. Like, I mean, the man did country singing and all that other stuff too. Kyle Petty back in the day was he was just like the wild child and stuff like that, and a real hoot. And he would just flat dominate races just out of nowhere. Like he would do it like at Rockingham or Pocono. Those are the glory days on that. So yeah. Oh, thank you, Andrew. I'm glad you liked the late '90s NASCAR. Was awesome. I'm trying to reach that point again in my videos. I feel like the other ones have kind of dropped off a bit on the hits. I appreciate all the support you guys have for the videos and sharing them and trying to spread the word, because that's the best thing that helps the channel for sure. But I'm trying to get them up to that level, because I want to get into kind of like those 6-figure hits, and I'm not quite getting there yet. But this next one might be up there. I think it'll be good. I think it's an interesting story, and I think it'll be something that can bounce off of. But we'll see what we can do on that. Okay, here we go. What was the next question? What was the Fonty short for in Fonty Flock's name? What was the Fonty short for in Fonty Flock's name? Alrighty, next question here is, what was the Fonty short for in Fonty Flock's name? What is Fonty short for? It's a good question. It could be anything. Could be, is this one of those like Richard versus Dick things, or maybe it's not even short for like a shorter version of it, or is it something else? We got Fontina, we got Fontel. Don't look it up. Go ahead and just make any guess you like here. I know it's getting late here a little bit for you on the East Coast. Appreciate you bearing with me here. I'm gonna let you guys go here in a little bit here, because I know that it's been a long haul here, but I appreciate you guys stopping by here and making these live streams what they are. We still plan on keeping these on the main channel here. It seems like that's the easiest place where you got to find them. I'll try to keep it more serious and other breaking news stories on the second channel there. I know I haven't put anything new on there in a while, but obviously after the Ryan Newman thing this year, I think there's some times where perhaps doing this format isn't appropriate, and we'll keep stuff over there. But we'll put that over here. Maybe I'll save other stuff that maybe doesn't fit to the tone of a post-race show there too, and we'll try that. We'll figure that out. Certainly open to suggestions on that. Let's find out what the answer to this question is. How about that? What was the Fonty short for in Fonty Flock's name? And the answer is Fontello. Fontello. Did anybody get that? Oh, Fontello. You were close, Bad Booking. You were very close. Alfonso, middle name, Fonter. Truman. Yeah, there we go. Really, really, really close. Fontello. There you go. You see it there? I've taken the lighting down, but I got to get that set back up again. Fontello is indeed the correct answer. All right. Okay, here we go. Here's a different one. We'll do a couple more here. Who wrote the racing article for Esquire magazine titled, quote, "The Last American Hero"? Here we go. Who wrote the racing article for Esquire magazine titled "The Last American Hero"? Very famous article about NASCAR, and a very famous author who wrote it. Who wrote the racing article for Esquire magazine titled "The Last American Hero"? Any guesses on that? Don't be shy. Don't look it up. Just go ahead and just jump right into the comments, see what we get. Tom Wolfe, Hunter S. Thompson. Any other guesses here? Who wrote the racing article for Esquire magazine titled "The Last American Hero"? Man, I'll tell you what, if Hunter S. Thompson wrote it, that would have been really entertaining. I'll tell you what. There's a book I read in college called Revenge of the Cockroach People, where it's, obviously if you've seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, you already get a pretty good sense of what he was like. But in terms of his writing, I remember just reading that and just laughing my butt off, because that was just so funny. I don't even remember what it was about. It's just crazy stuff in it. But yeah. William Shakespeare, I don't know. Okay, answer is Tom Wolfe. Bad Booking, you got it, man. Tom Wolfe, indeed. Yeah, that's why it's in the wild card section. It's a little hard to dig up writers' names on there. Okay, here we go. This is going to be our last question for the night there, too. And again, I want to thank you again for everybody joining in. Last question of the evening. What driver was named Tennessee Professional Athlete of the Year in 1979? What driver was named Tennessee Professional Athlete of the Year in 1979? Tennessee Professional Athlete of the Year in 1979. What driver was named Tennessee Professional Athlete of the Year in 1979? First three guesses for Darrell Waltrip. Another few for Darrell Waltrip, one for Earnhardt. And the answer is Darrell Waltrip. Okay, I guess that one was too easy. That one was too easy, but there we go. Okay, here, actually, how about this? Let me do one more. That was a little too easy. One more. What current NASCAR Winston Cup driver, current as of late 90s, okay, this is the last question. What current NASCAR Winston Cup driver was the 1991 USAC Silver Crown champion? You know, now that I read that, maybe that isn't so easy. Maybe that isn't so hard. I'm getting really tired. I'm sorry, guys. What current NASCAR Winston Cup driver was the 1991 USAC Silver Crown champion? 1991. As of the late 90s, what current NASCAR Winston Cup driver was the 1991 USAC Silver Crown champion? And I think you guys got it. Jeff Gordon, Kenny Irwin. And the answer is Jeff Gordon. Indeed, Jeff Gordon. I was hoping we could get something crazier on that, but okay, we'll let that go here. Well, again, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the race today and the live stream. We'll keep things light on these for the forward here, because I know it's a lot of fun meeting with you guys and talking things out. Look forward to the video we got coming up this Friday on Johnny Benson and the 2000 season. Another project also in the works. We're going to get that going. Let's see, and then I guess we don't have the Wednesday race this week, so we'll see you again next week for the Atlanta races. And yeah, I'm still getting this scrambled for the next mile-and-a-half race, and we'll catch up from there. But again, hope you enjoyed the race today. I definitely enjoyed you guys coming by on the live stream. And remember, last happens, folks. Take it easy out there. Be safe.